You know, when you see a guy with a Subaru at a car show, ask him if he needs a hug of support. Don't just hug him first. In today's society, that'll get you in trouble. But ask him, do you need a hug? Do you need some support to keep dealing with the Subaru? Hello and welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is the Questionable Garage. And no, you do not need to adjust your TV set. You do not need to send, a wellness check on me. I am fully aware there is a Subaru in the shop. I'm gonna make a statement that might be a point of contention for a lot of you. I don't know that there is a stronger or more enthusiastic owner group than the Subaru owners. And the reason I say that is if you're in the car community, they have a reputation. Donut Media did an entire series with a high car, low car Subaru modification. They did everything they were supposed to do to make them reliable, and they did nothing but break. My friend purchased this vehicle, and it's done nothing but break for him.
Really?
But everyone who has one just accepts that is part of the Subaru ownership experience. It is gonna break a lot, and you're just gonna keep fixing it, putting money into it. The car is gonna hate you for it, but you're gonna have little glimmers of hope while it's working.
Nice.
And yes, I said my friend's car. No, I have not purchased a Subaru, and I have no intention of purchasing one of this era. My friend Ridge, who's helped us in the past when we built Johnny Rev, he was doing a lot of the grinding and fabrication. He's had this car. It's broken, he's spent all the money, bought all of the right parts for it, and it's just been broken. It's been sitting a year, as you can tell by his demeanor, because he picked it up from getting tuned, and it's had nothing but problems.
So, as part of the video, I had to get Ridge to come over here because we keep poking fun at you. I don't know if it's poking fun, saying you are the most passionate group of car owners, car enthusiasts, because your car just fights you, but you love it.
Yeah, it's just like a continuing love and passion for the car. Despite all the trouble that Subarus have and all the rumors, and honestly, with good parts, good help.
Are they rumors? Your car, when did you lose your first engine?
2,000 miles, 100%, like right off the factory line.
Did they warranty it?
No, absolutely not. I don't even know if I wanted to go back with a warranty engine. It was straight built from there, no questions asked. That was kind of the original plans with the car anyways. But honestly, it's a blast to drive. It just really is. Like, we have a lot of mountain roads, and this thing it takes whatever you throw at it. So it's kind of a good balance between every car you can kind of imagine, just in one.
Which, again, me driving it, I feel the glimmers of it. Like, it is fun.
Honestly, the driving part, the fun, that doesn't deserve a dollar figure, I guess you could say.
I cannot think of a more impassioned, enthusiastic, loyal group of car enthusiasts than a Subaru owner who just goes, you can't assign a dollar figure to, the 50% of ownership experience where it behaves.
Stuff's going to break. It's just, you're going to have to get in and replace it, take the time and replace it.
It's just some break a little more often than others, but you know what? I'm excited to hopefully get at least a direction, because it's been fighting you for a year. You got it back. It's not quite been right. We've been working, kind of gave you some pointers, and you finally were like, hey, can you take a look at it? And I'm like, sure, let's figure it out, because it gives me a chance to kind of talk through the diagnostic steps, and we'll get it right. We'll let you enjoy it. And maybe one day we'll get you into something like that cool back there.
I have a few tricks up my sleeve. I'm trying to figure some things out, and might be able to do something like that soon.
No, you love your Subaru forever. You're married to it. It's a bottomless money pit.
So what we are gonna try to do today, we're gonna work together. I'm hopefully going to teach you a little bit of a diagnostic process, because as a mechanic, the absolute worst thing to ever roll into your bay that you're gonna have to diagnose and fix is a heavily modified car. And that's what this is. There's very few things that have not been touched on this car. The 5-speed broke, so it's now got the 6-speed swap done to it. It's got a fully built engine, built heads. the custom tune, custom fuel system, and it's got a couple really weird problems that we're gonna have to work through. And being that it's so modified, your traditional workflow diagrams that you would get for trouble codes and things like that don't always pertain 100%. And the best part is it's an intermittent, weird, hard to replicate problem.
But something that's not weird and intermittent are the new and improved everyday earbuds by today's sponsor, Raycon.
That's right, today's sponsor is Raycon, the maker of my personal favorite earbud, the Everyday Earbuds. And, well, they've just leveled up from this to this. Now, granted, this is just the case, but inside is a whole new everyday earbud with a lot more features that make everyday life even better. They have updated the touch controls, simplifying it, making it so they are now dust-proof. Now, in the time lapses, you will regularly see me wearing them because I absolutely enjoy them when I'm working in the shop. They have fantastic sound quality, and they let me, instead of listening to tires pop, I can listen to my friend Cooper and the Bugatti Studios podcast, or any of the music I enjoy playing that you guys don't get to listen to because of copyrights, and I don't have the budget for music rights. So the new air compressor has an auto time drain to keep it from having water problems. Scares me every time it goes off. Now, another beauty of these things is they come with 5 different sized earpieces, so that way you're gonna get the best fit for your ear so you can maximize the new active noise cancellation feature. That's right, noise cancellation in an earbud that comes in under $80 with my discount code. And they're available in multiple colors, so, you know, if you're filling the whole household out with earbuds, you don't have to worry about grabbing, you know, someone else's earbuds. They're seamless integration to your phones, to your laptops, however you want to connect, you're gonna be able to. You're gonna be able to enjoy fantastic sound quality. And now, you got active noise cancellation, which honestly is probably my favorite feature in the new revision. They keep getting better. They're not running the price up when everything else is getting absolutely astronomically expensive. $10 for a pound of ground beef. Instead of that, get you some good earbuds, enjoy some music, listen along. Click the link in the description box below or head on over to buyraycon.com/questionable and you're gonna save 20% off your purchase and get free shipping. And with your support of Raycon, you help support the Questionable Garage. You get a product that I absolutely love, you're gonna absolutely love, and it lets me keep building crazy things here in the shop and helping friends out with very questionable Subarus. Now, let's get back to figuring out what the heck is wrong with this thing.
All right, let's look under the hood of this Subaru. It's very dirty. The reason is it has just kind of beat up his will. It has not been nice to him. It's had so many problems. It's not long after ownership, he lost an engine. So he's got basically one of the best IAG short blocks and head packages you can get assembled. It is so overbuilt, capable of supporting a lot more horsepower than he ever wants to make. He knows, you know, sometimes Subarus can be a problem, so he overbuilt it so that way he would never have to worry about it. Along with that, it has got, I believe, the ID, injector dynamic, 1750cc injectors. It's got an FP, I think he said green turbocharger hiding down there. I don't understand the air intake, but because the turbos do live in such a weird spot on a Boxster engine, you got pistons on each side. It's a flat engine. It gets the weight really down low. That is why Subarus back in the day were really good Group B rally cars. The weight stayed low. They were all-wheel drive. They could do really cool things. And because of that low center of gravity, they tend to handle pretty well. It's why Porsche still does it. But you go through, there's everything. You got the right catch can separators, all the good stuff, set up for Cobb Flex fuel. Car originally had a, transmission problem, weak transmission, so he upgraded it with the 6-speed transmission, and then a map sensor failed. It went in to get a new map sensor and tune. He got switched over to Ecutech tune, and on his way home, the car cut off. Turned off, engine stalled dead, would not restart. Disconnected the battery for 5 minutes, put it back on, fired back up, drove a little bit longer. Then it did it again. And this is where we're going to start talking about the difficulty and our thought process of how we're going to diagnose something that's somewhat intermittent and doesn't have a clear symptom path. It is not a fun thing, and because it is so custom, we may hit a limitation of what we can directly fix, but we're going to work through and eliminate a lot of other things, because basically he was told before it can come back down, needs a lot of things checked out. Again, the car did not have this problem until after the tune, but that does not mean the tune is bad. We're going to try to figure out what is going wrong. Step one, clearly, we're going to hook up a scan tool and just see if there's anything on the computer. The problem, again, is anytime it stalled, to get it off the road, you had to pull the battery, which resets codes. Then we're going to start looking through the aftermarket modifications. Obviously, we have the big ETS intercooler on it. There could be leaks anywhere in the system. How we're going to check that. And then we're going to go through just a visual inspection of everything and try to come up with a game plan. So I'm going to grab my top-down scanner, and we're going to jump inside and see if the computer is going to give us any help, or if we are 100% on our own. All right, so we're inside. I went ahead and, just to save us the time of pulling all the codes, I connected and we've got them pulled up. And currently we are showing a P0031, which is a heater control circuit problem. It can either be an open the sensor, which is something we can usually unplug and test, or a power supply problem. The other thing that's interesting is we're getting a P0068 manifold air pressure or mass airflow meter throttle position correlation code. Now, what's interesting about that is this car just had a different style map sensor put into it, and it was tuned. It could be nothing. It is something that a lot of tuners will turn off, because when you start getting into reflashing stock computers, they have like 30 different layers of potential map correlation codes, and it's not directly needed for what we're doing. Also, it looks like our battery is going dead. I heard the fuel pump slowly going down. I wanted to go ahead and start it, so let me grab a jump box, get it stuck on there, and let's fire up old Subaru here. There we go. I got my jack pack hooked up. Got this from Benpack when they sent out some new tire equipment. They also sent these, which I kind of like. They're lamps, they're air compressors, and they're jump boxes. Go ahead and jump in and get this thing fired up. We're going to pull up some data stream. Alright. One thing I'm noticing is it does seem to kind of idle a little high. That may just be part of its cold start enrichment, but next we're going to look at the data that the computer's getting, and we can go from there. Alright, so we've got some of our values picked out that we want to look at. One is absolute load. So what absolute load is, it's basically a calculation that the computer has where it's looking at fuel flow and mass airflow. These engines do have both a mass airflow sensor and a map sensor, and what a varying between 20 and 30% calculated load at idle is indicating to us is something on the map sensor scaling or settings might be a little bit off. Normally it should be 12 to 15% if you don't have air conditioning on or anything else like that running. So that's something that kind of stands out. And again, looking at our airflow for idle, that does indicate a little bit high. Scroll down, we see the alternator is charging. What's interesting is the unit, my scan tool is only showing 11.2 volts, which is really odd coming through the data port. So that may be something to look at. Now that we are warmed up, we're idling at the correct RPM. We can come here. See timing. The way that timing is going, you can tell it's set up for some of the Hot Boys stuff, which will be... it's not popping too much on a free rev, but some of those timing settings are just kind of set up to make it noisy. The fact that our intake air temperature sensor is not really changing could be something. We're not really getting much for the O2 sensor voltages because, again, it has a code, so it's not going to look at those. But none of these codes are a hard set, stall, complete issue. So it's just we're trying to look at all the data, see everything we have available to us. So we're seeing there's some things that are just a little bit off. So now we move on to a physical inspection because we don't have any, just clear-cut problems on the computer, which I didn't expect. They've been trying to figure this out for a year and it's been parked. So always, number one, look at your computer, see if you get something that's going to help narrow down your hunt. And sadly, we did not. We have some things that are off, but not a smoking gun. So next step, under the hood, and I'll show you a couple things we're going to do there. With it up in the air, turn on the light. Okay, good. We're not blinding you. So we're just going to walk around and just look for anything that looks off. Now on these, a real common problem as far as like cutting out, let me turn the brightness down a little. There we go. And that's giving a shudder. What about this one? That's even worse. All right, we'll make this work. These have 2 grounds on the front. You can see that one ground wire. We're looking at our lower cam sensor. That's one of the 2. These have 4. That's got a small bit of oil leak. There's the ACVS, I think it is on a Subaru. The variable actuator. A little bit of weep. They're plugged in. Again, we're just looking for any clues because right now we have no clue. On this side, when we look at the actuator, a little bit more, oh, there we go. A little bit more oily, and we see the connector actually broken on it, but it's zip tied on. That's something where, it would have been nice while the engine was out that it would have been replaced. We got a cam sensor. We do have that ground. We're just looking for anything. So continuing around. Now, it's important to look and understand how many grounds and where they are on your engines. This, I believe, just has those 2 small ones on the bottom and 1 large one from the top. But just look around. Does anything look off? And, we see extra connectors like that one, right amount of light. That one there, next to the hose, but this has the variable air intake runners deleted, so that's kind of what those are for. Now, one thing I do find kind of odd, and this may be a Subaru thing, but in my turbocharged world, you never have an oxygen sensor pre-turbo because you build pressure and the heat energy can be a little bit too much for them. Now, granted, again, on the Subaru, you have about 37 feet of exhaust pipe before the turbo, so you still see the pressure, but it's not as extreme. Also, talking with Ridge, he said something about them deleting an O2 sensor, which seems odd because that means the car doesn't have one, period. So we're going to double check that that's plugged in. You do want one. That just seemed off. But your best advice trying to find something, just walk around. Look for corrosion. People up north, I know, like if you have a newer 1500 truck doing all kinds of bizarre things, they've got a braided ground cable like this, that is behind a wheel well that completely turns green and ends up causing like radio problems, running problems. It's nuts how much goes wrong with it. So it's not fun, but you got to fix it. So what do? You just check down the list. Underneath, we don't see anything loose. We don't see anything obviously broken or missing that shouldn't be missing from the best we can tell. So now we're going to do that look around the top, see if just anything stands out, and then we'll go for a drive and try to get it to actually brake on us so we know next. It's just eliminating what do we know is good, because by the time you've cut all the good out, because the bad isn't an easily presentable thing, you're taking all the good things away and you're going to be left with just a little bit of bad. It's where, like when I talk about a wiring diagram, if you look and you see 100 wires, it's very overwhelming, but you don't need 100 wires. You take it down to just the couple that matter for what you're trying to work on. So let me put this back down, and we're going to do that same thing. We're just going to look around the engine bay, see if we can find anything. You see these connectors, they're related to systems that were deleted. That's something where, unfortunately, you got to do a little bit of the internet research, listen to the persons who owns the car, what they know has been done to it, and that's the best I can figure all the little bit of digging I've done. Now, some of the other things we have, obviously aftermarket boost control solenoid. We have the aftermarket MAP sensor, manifold air pressure sensor, and they did delete the mass airflow sensor. I did confirm that. So the correlation codes are something that can be turned off. It's not really, the only code we have is not something to chase, unfortunately. It's just something in the tune. This is part of a flex fuel system, and down under there, down there is the flex fuel sensor, so that way this can run E85. Now, something that could cause this would be loose ground, so follow your ground. One, you can also just take your ohm meter and check for resistance, see how it looks. But we have a ground over here that ties into this main trunk. That trunk goes to the starter, and then right next to the starter is our ground, and that is nice and tight. So the possibility of a loose ground isn't looking strong. And then we come over here, we've got a ground, and there should be, again, from what the internet says, one more over here. Now, I've not found it yet, so that's a possibility to cause some problems. And one other thing, again, that I am curious about is our crank sensor that lives right down there. Camera, finger, see the finger? Let's do that. Nope, not the hose. There we go. It's not easy to pull, but we can pull that, because one thing I want to do is then drop my borescope camera down, look at the trigger wheel, see what that looks like, if it's any way that it's come loose. And then also when it's on the table, we'll go ahead and bench test that crank angle sensor just to see what it's reading. Once we've done all that, we've done all our preliminary checks, we'll go ahead, get this thing on the ground and drive it. One other reason I didn't immediately drive it is he had to update the insurance on it. The car has beat him up so much, it's kind of just been chilling. He's, hug your Subaru friends. Like, it's unreal. Searching the internet, even I will jump on forums. They're very, very useful sometimes. It's dangerous because there is a lot of misinformation, but the number of people who have cam sensor, crank sensor problems, all these problems with the cars, and they just fight with them because they love the car. And you're going to be hard pressed to convince me there's a more loyal ownership group than the Subaru people, because car guys, what car is more problematic than a Subaru? Like, I can't think of one at all. All right, so we are down in the hole. I just had it in a perfect spot and bumped it. There we go. So we're going to rotate the crank around. Those are the teeth that the sensor picks up. And what I find, one or two of them have what look like the tiniest bit of shiny on them. Like that one a little bit. This is where it skips. This is basically how it knows where home is. It has, on your sine wave, you'll see all the little bumps, and then suddenly it's got two long flat spots. But if you notice that one part of the bump and there, it looks like it's been making contact on something. See it there too. And then it goes away. Oh, there's still a little bit more of it. There's another tooth that looks like, oh, that's all the way back around again. But like it looks almost like a crank sensor has made some type of contact there. We're going to measure the cam sensor out. I've got it pulled out. I don't see damage to it. That looks kind of similar to what you would expect. And again, that's the first time I'm looking down at a Subaru trigger wheel. So that slight marking could be completely normal. There's like a tiny impression there, but that should never get close to it. So we're going to look up our specifications. We're going to measure this with an ohm meter, just see what this shows, and go on. Because again, for a car to cut off cold stop, engine running, most of the time, it's going to be your crank sensor. Could be a failed ECU. They're not that bad, although, again, on the forum, some people were saying under warranty, they had 4 different computers replaced because they were losing different segments. But I will also say this. A dealership is quick to condemn a computer even if it's not bad. It's just kind of one of their default. If a car doesn't run right, we're going to put a computer in it. Which I don't think is the right way to go, but Subarus, maybe? I got my jump box. Big things we're wanting to look. Ignition timing, ignition voltage, if we lose a camera crank signal, and engine RPM. Those are kind of the main things I want to try to get it to do. potentially we need to drive for about 10 minutes. Maybe sooner. So we'll get out and see if we can actually get this thing to die. Once I get out on the road, we're gonna go ahead and start data logging and just see what happens. We're being honest, I kind of feel like I'm getting a similar driving experience as an 89 Ford Probe GT. Also, I have to remember, a Subaru sounds like it's misfiring all the time. Normally takes up to 10 minutes. It has happened literally just moving it completely cold in a parking lot. So, I appreciate that the hazard switch is a giant red button. Subaru wants their owners able to find it quickly and easily. Hope it acts up. I only have one GoPro battery. Rich said it was now very consistently every 10 minutes it would cut out or sooner. I've been cruising in 4th and 5th. Let's try some 6th gear cruising. See if that might finally do it. But there's a couple, one or two small check boxes for the map conversion going to purely a map sensor. We have a neutral sensor code, but again, that is not going to make the car cut off and not restart it. Crank, 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 nothing will happen. The most curious thing is they remove the battery and reconnect it, and then it's fine for a while again. So that, I'm not going to say eliminates, but it kind of points away from the fuel pump. Oh, there it is. It just did it. No throttle, nothing. It is dead. We're coasting to a stop. Thank you, car. Now, what's interesting is, technically still charging. We have a cam signal, a crank signal. It's going to probably be throttle related. Hazards on. And of course it picked the one spot that has no pullover. All right, thank you, car. Does it in 10 minutes. 20 minutes later, read fault code. Manifold pressure reference range performance P0068. All right, just even though I was talking to you guys there, we've finally got it to do it. P0068 manifold reference angles. Throttle body's closing. It's getting all out of whack. The one good thing is that most likely, again, I don't want to say good, but it is pointing us towards a just a simple calibration, updated flash from the tuner. So starts, immediately cuts off. We're going to come in here, clear fault memory. Nobody clear memory. Back up. Read fault code, temporary, make sure the 0668 is gone, and we are back. All right, let's go back to the shop. We know what it's doing. We can get it figured out. We got a car coming up on us, but good deal.
Well, it's not necessarily the ending I was hoping. It was something I wanted to be able to directly address myself and 100% fix. I'm sure you guys like seeing the 100% conclusions as well, but hopefully kind of through this process of just basic troubleshooting, you've learned a little bit. If you apply KISS, you're gonna be able to work through and come to some type of resolution to be able to get the car fixed. And when I say KISS, it's pretty much my favorite, not acronym. What is it when letters make a word? I should know this. Anagram. There we go. Back to my grade school education. Thank you, Dr. Google. KISS is my favorite anagram. Keep it simple, stupid. It is by nature that we tend to overcomplicate things. We look at a very heavily modified car and we just instantly say, it's gonna be a very complex problem. And while this technically is, we are able to narrow down and eliminate a whole lot of things. Simple things like, is there a loose wire? We looked over everything. An engine needs power and ground. We took the symptoms of the car. It cuts off hard after some driving and we're able to work backwards. What is going to cause a car to cut off so abruptly? Potential crank sensor, losing its main power feeds. Just take that and look at certain things. Pick the car up. Our grounds were all good. Our power leads were good. Crank sensor, we were able to access that very easily, so we pulled it out, spec'd it out. It was perfect. We looked at the crank trigger wheel, and we eliminated all of those possible things to where we felt comfortable to go ahead and drive it. It wasn't something stupid and simple. It was going to take us driving and getting some data, and in doing that, we were able to replicate the problem and confirm. Now again, this is where we're having to take a little bit of educated guess, but it's going to be accurate. The car didn't misbehave until it was tuned. During the tune, they changed the manifold air pressure sensor, the MAP sensor, to accommodate a higher boost pressure, because with a factory sensor, maybe it only reached 2.5 bar. This now goes to 4 bar. Otherwise, that sensor would max, and the computer wouldn't know what to do. It didn't know how much air was going in. Between that and the deletion of the MAF sensor, when it finally set, the correlation code, what that correlation means, the throttle position, the amount of air coming in when the computer references that tables, it makes no sense. So it goes into a hard failsafe. It thinks there's a potential problem with the drive-by-wire system, so it stops. It will not let you drive it, because one of the most dangerous things with a drive-by-wire system, when it gets all out of whack, you can't control it. And rather than let that potentially be, it hard stops the car. So the reason it would work when they pulled the battery is because it was resetting that code. Well, we were able to just do that with our scan tool, didn't need to do that. So that is a matter of a tune issue. Now, why did we go through all this stuff rather than immediately have them take it right back to the tuner a year ago? Well, we didn't know for sure. There could have been a problem with the vehicle. Tuners tend to get the blame right away, and I would say 99% of the time, it's not the tune. But there is that 1%, and in this car's case, it's a quick, simple adjustment on a table, code goes away, and Ridge can enjoy his car. And on that, I am still going to stand on my statement. There is not a more hardcore car enthusiast than a Subaru owner. I like weird, obscure cars. You can go into cars like what Robert likes, Reliant Robins and things like that, where you can't find parts and you have to make everything. Doesn't matter. I don't know of a car that really legitimately fights its owner so much. But having driven it, while it's behaving, it is a lot of fun. I get it. I get it, Subaru owners. When you're at a car meet, you see a Subaru owner, ask them if they need a hug, because their cars don't always love them back, but they are met with an unconditional love by the most hardcore car enthusiasts I know. It's unreal, but hats off to you Subaru owners. what you put up with, it's impressive. Hopefully you learned a little bit as we went through this process. I really wanted to help my friend Ridge out because he was so discouraged. And now we know a direction that he needs to go to get the car working. It's almost there. He's done all the things he needs to do. Now there's just one last thing, and he will be off doing Subaru things. I think that's camping, vaping, and no, this isn't Outback, so no dogs. But that's it for today. I am Jared, reminding you guys to always make questionable choices, except for when it comes to your earbuds. I love those Raycons. You should get them too. Also, not shameless plug, my normal one. Always make questionable choices, and we're here for you if you have a Subaru. We love you. Cars, there are cars that love you. If you ever get tired of the abuse. Mopar, some Hondas, Toyotas, Chevys. There's bright skies out there. We'll see you.